Welcome to Chaos Pie, where we serve up sweet slices of pandemonium in just 15 minutes. Every day, you deal with the chaos of the reality of business, and you make decisions in a changing and uncertain environment. Chaos Pie is here to make your business life clearer, your decisions easier, and make you laugh while learning how. I'm Brian, and later in the show, I'll say something idiotic, and Garrison will make fun of me in an equally idiotic way. But first, let's talk about today's topic, which is...
Here's the question. What about people, Brian, who want to get a job right now? Like, I want to get a job on my first interview. That's what I'm hearing people say. I don't want to go look for a job for 2 years or every day. I want to get... Some people walk in and they get a job on their first interview, and they're not even smart. They have a lot going on. Some person's got everything. They can't get hired for nothing. That's the issue. So
yeah. I think if you hang around the right place, like near Home Depot, and you've got a shovel, you could probably get hired that day.
With your own shovel? Or do you have to, I think you have to buy the shovel at Home Depot, and then they hire you.
I don't. Yeah, no, I mean, obviously, it depends. You got to go into some job where they need people, and you got to be qualified and come off good to the guy, right? Or the gal.
Did you just say we got to go to a job where they need people? All right, just making
terms. Well, no, I mean, like, you can't just be like, I want to get hired today and then go into something where there are way more people trying to get hired than are being hired, right?
I don't know what you just said, but I think I do. So I liked it. I don't know what it was.
There's going to be some jobs that are harder to get hired in than others, even if they're qualified, because there are some... like right now, I think they still need a lot of programmers.
Right.
They don't need a lot of PR people.
Right.
So.
Yeah, sure. So what you're saying is that if there's a field that's totally crowded, get off that field. Is what you're saying, right? Yeah. I think that's true. I think in order to get hired, if you're going to get hired right away, like I want to show up and just do a great interview and get hired, I've got to be in a situation where they're definitely hiring people that is not a situation where hopefully they'll be looking for people in that field. Because a lot of people go, okay, well, I've got an education, I just got out of college, I'm 21, 22 years old, I'm going to, need to go, get a job, as, whatever it is, and they have like 9,000 people looking for that job. That's true.
Yeah. So. Yeah, and I think it depends on the job. I mean, some jobs they're going to do multiple rounds of hiring, so you're going to go in and you're going to be happy if you get to the next round and get to come back for a second interview or whatever. It depends on the job, but yeah, you definitely want to make it to that next stage. So how
as
do you
opposed
to what?
I'm just laughing. Making the next stage, like, we've determined that your next stage is out the door. The next stage for you is gone. Like there's stage one and then nothing for you. But here's what I found, in talking to people who hire people, and what you hear about why they hire people, and this is kind of funny. So, like, they seem teachable. That's what people, like in their 30s and 40s, interviewing people in their young, early 20s. They seem teachable. I felt like they fit our culture. I felt like they would stay with us. They seem committed. What you don't hear from them is great resume and impressive education. You don't hear enough of that.
Yeah, that's true.
So,
true.
I think they're hiring people based on how they feel.
Like somebody that if they're going to train you, you definitely want to seem like you're excited to learn and that you're good at learning, right? Yeah, and that's typical. That's what I saw. People that I hired, when I hired people, it was partly based on character. Like I wanted to see somebody who not necessarily wanted work to be their life, but they liked to work and they believed in producing value, not just showing up.
Yeah, I hired men who would not upstage me and women who were attractive. That's what I did originally, but I had to switch that.
So you're Isaiah Thomas. I've heard of you.
Right.
Yeah, that's an NBA joke. Now, I had a job not too long ago, like a few years back. I called this one company because they were looking for like an SEO person, and and after talking to him for 15 minutes, I realized I didn't want the job anymore because I said, there's actually places you can go online now and look and see what people have said about, like they review the culture of the company, so you can see it kind of like if it's like a hotel, but you can see if you want to work there. And this company, they said it had a really bad work-life balance, and so I asked him about that specifically in the interview. And he had a really lame answer for it. He was just like the politician.
That's important. The entire company, not just the person, like the whole company had a bad work-life balance.
Yeah,
I didn't know a company could have work-life balance. I thought a person had to have that.
It could, because what I read was, like, it said the CEO talks about living the life, in quotes. So there's it was like a cult based on,
right,
being willing to work like almost every day,
right,
all kinds of stuff like that. So
you mean they were asking you to work every day? That's ridiculous.
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
Like every day, like
Saturday, Sunday, yeah. Like you'd have to, they'd be like, you got to monitor. In certain jobs that makes sense. Like let's say you're dealing with the servers on a website or something.
Sure.
But yeah, so like I was like, man, okay, I don't want that job. And then the next day they emailed me and said that you didn't get it, and I emailed them back and I said, I broke up with you first.
Just to make sure they understand that,
Yeah, I thought it would be funny, and I felt rejected. So,
but you won. But here's the question I have. The question I have is that I think there may be a lot of people who don't want a job. I think you have to ask yourself, if you want to get hired in your first interview, do you actually want a job? I think there's a percentage of people who don't want a job. I think people are graduating from college and going, I don't think I'm going to work like every day, like in a row. Yeah. I don't think I don't want to get up every. I don't want to work like 5 days in a row. Well, and I think that's true. So
kids these days.
Well, I mean, what I'm trying to say, great. Now you've just alienated our audience, which apparently is from the ages 11 to 14. You got rid of our audience.
That's right. Well, they're not playing whatever latest shoot 'em up video game is out.
Right.
They're listening to this.
I do want to say that we have determined that our demographic is apparently 11 to 14. And so if you are still listening, I'm surprised. But if you are, don't let Brian offend you with his old man talk. Anyway. But I mean, I agree. I mean, the different mindset, that's for sure. People want, they want to work at their own pace. They don't want to be judged by the time they put in. They want to be judged by the deliverable. And that's hard for a lot of companies to accept. I will tell you, if you're a corporation listening here today, and that is, you probably need to look at that concept, because judging people by their deliverable and what they can produce and do is actually a lot easier to manage than to determine if somebody working is doing something. So I think it works better for both ways. But I think there are some specific things that you can do in an interview, that'll help you. I think there's some specific things, actions and behaviors we've noticed. Okay. I'm glad you asked that question, Brian. I think that making sure the interviewer does most of the talking. Ask questions, that are personal to the interviewer, what's your opinion of what this company looks like from an employee standpoint or whatever, and ask those kinds of questions, and don't ask questions like, so how soon after I start can I take vacation days? Or, do you guys recycle? Those are, don't ask those questions. Those are questions I think, you hear people ask, like, that's ridiculous. I think also, be confident, but don't be overconfident, I mean, if you're under 30, the elementary school system, built your self-esteem up really high, and so higher than most generations, and people 40 and older can perceive you as cocky or arrogant because your strong belief in your abilities. They'll be calm and confident, but let them know that, you're not convinced that you're it, day one. And, you don't have all the answers. You know.
I mean, you want to be, quietly confident, right?
Yeah, I agree. And, exactly. Well said.
I remember interviewing a guy who seemed like he might have, done cocaine or something before, but he was very hyped up. Maybe he drank too much coffee. And he was all, it was very strange because he was almost he participated too much, and then proceeded to tell us all this stuff he's got going on the side. So it's like, wow, and I realized when he was talking that we didn't really want to hire somebody that had a whole lot of stuff going on.
That's exactly right, yeah. Well, the more you talk, the more chance you'll say something stupid. And no offense, between the ages of 21 and I would say 30, you'll say your stupidest stuff. The dumbest things will ever come out of your mouth are in that area, trust me on that. So, I think you have to be careful about saying too much. But also, don't say, let me tell you how I'm qualified for the job, Don't say, I'm totally smart and I'm super good at stuff I don't know anything about, There are certain things that you have to be careful of. Yeah, I think, and the other thing is that, if your interviewer wants to talk the whole time, you just go ahead and let them. I mean, don't really, interrupt, because, the longer they talk, the better you are. You say, yes, I agree. Mm-hmm, that's true. Yes, say, wow, really? Wow. Like they kind of hit a whole new gear when you say wow. Then they're like, wow. So I think that's important. The other thing I think from our list of stuff we found was when when you get the chance to talk, just be super clear and focused. Try not to kind of don't talk a lot, but know kind of what you can say.
Right.
I think that.
Yeah, you should develop some talking points. And this dovetails with this. I was thinking about how it was valuable to me to go to Toastmasters, not just to become a better speaker, but also Toastmasters has this weird sort of like 80s corporate mentality to it, like it was somehow frozen in ice in 1983 or something.
Yes.
And that is funny in a way, but it's also good, because if you can get grounded in that sort of ethos or whatever, that zeitgeist or some other crazy word I can come up with. Then
Did you say zeitgeist? Go ahead.
Yes, I said zeitgeist. And then you can walk into a corporate environment, and you're naturally, if you're at Gen Y right now, you're probably, you're probably too cool for your own good. So you blend that with a little bit of the weird 80s corporate culture, and then maybe you'll actually fit in a little bit.
Okay, so basically, if you're Gen Y, you're probably already super cool, too cool. So too cool. Add some 80s in there. Put some 80s
think about
in there.
This way. Let me be the voice of Gen X for a minute.
Okay.
Since I might be hiring you as a Gen Y person.
Right.
We've worked really hard for the last 15 years.
Right.
And we would like you to come in and work hard as well. And we are old enough now to realize the folly of our youthful ambitions. So we don't want to see you being ridiculously cocky, We want you to come in and be a willing, fairly humble worker. It's fine if you're cool and you have some flair to you. That's great. That's a sign of intelligence. But you got to be willing to walk in and say, I understand you guys have different priorities and objectives. You're going to pay me, and therefore I'm going to fit into your mold a little bit. Be a team player.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah. No. I mean, I think you want to leave out some things too. You don't need to tell them. We've been in the last 2 years. I've been, on Mom and Dad's couch smoking weed, playing Xbox. You don't have to give all that information out.
Right.
Of course, you've probably forgotten you did that if it's true.
But the other thing, I read this really cool article recently that said it was a letter from a guy who decided to go become an entrepreneur after working at a kind of a traditional corporation. And he had all these things in there about, like you mentioned earlier, saying, like, why should I sit there for 3 hours in the afternoon pretending I'm still working when I've done all the work you wanted me to do for the day?
Right. That's right. Yeah, that's a tough one.
So these kids can be really efficient and do a great job. Like you said, make it a deliverable thing. But yeah, you got to kind of, if you're coming in you got to realize you're going to walk into a corporate culture. You don't know what that's going to be. You don't know what the power structures are, so you got to kind of keep your head down a little bit and listen a lot and see what's going on. I
agree. I think that's very, very true. Another thing, though, it's appearance. This is a generation, if you're in your 30s, you like to be super casual. I talked to a guy like 22 years old, and he said, I just like to wear these shorts. Well, those shorts were underwear. Those aren't shorts. You're in your underwear. If your shorts have ducks on them, they're underwear. They have ducks on them. So, and I think hairstyles, a mohawk is out, faux hawk is passable, right?
Yeah,
because
true.
one makes you look like an unemployed serial killer, and the other makes you look just have like a pointy head, so it's okay.
Yeah.
I think make sure your clothes aren't old and worn out, and super. Nobody wants to hire a hobo, and shave. I got to tell these young guys, you're going to probably have to shave. I know you like the I just woke up look and I don't care look,
Yeah.
And you may be proud of a little hair you can grow. Congratulations.
That's right.
But employers comment on this a lot, So when you get the job, it may not matter. You can just be your fuzzy-faced self. But I think you do have to shave. I've seen too many guys go to interviews lately without shaving.
That's
and women,
true. Like that. It is true. In your 20s, you're proud of actually have some masculine traits, and maybe that's great. You go out somewhere in the evening, and that'd be great for that for for being, attractive to whichever gender you like. But
right.